Welcome to the DO Boxing Show. I'm your host, Dameon Okposio, and this is going to be episode number 38, and we're going to be talking about the Lennox Lewis effect. So much like an earlier episode where I talked about the Mayweather effect, I want to talk about what Lennox Lewis, the last undisputed heavyweight champion, and the date right now is January 2016. The last undisputed heavyweight champion, Lennox Lewis, who became undisputed heavyweight champion when he beat Evander Holyfield in 1999, is the motivation and I guess the inspiration for this episode, which is going to be called the Lennox Lewis effect. So what is the Lennox Lewis effect? As I was just saying at just a little while ago, much like the Mayweather effect, it's about what Lennox Lewis did that made him successful, and looking at that. And, before I get into Lennox Lewis and what he did is, this is what I do. I try and look at what people do, and either imitate it or reverse engineer it. And that's what I do. I leverage that knowledge, and it's why I'm one of the few independent businesses in boxing that actually make money, because I don't reinvent the wheel. I just look at what people that have been successful beforehand have done, and then try and use some of those lessons and try and execute it. So what I'm calling the Lennox Lewis effect is basically how Lennox Lewis ran his career, which was brilliant. Basically, I consider him Canadian. So, if you were born here or you came here from a different country and you learned your skills here or fought here for a little while, I consider you Canadian. That's the way that I look at it, plain and simple. And when Lennox Lewis was here, he not only learned a lot of his boxing skills reportedly from when he lived in Kitchener, because he came here, and it's been published that he came here to Canada at the age of 12 years old, but he learned his skills from a coach named Arnie Beam, and this is all stuff that I've gathered from research, not directly from Lennox Lewis. I also want to make that very clear. He honed his skills here, and one of the biggest things is that he represented Canada, not only at one Olympics, but at 2 Olympic Games. At the age of 18, he went to the Los Angeles Games in 1984 and represented Canada. And in 1988, he went to Seoul, Korea and won gold medal by defeating Riddick Bowe to win a gold medal for Canada. But back then, well, not even back then, even now, Canada, especially Ontario, doesn't really have the infrastructure for fighters to properly build their careers. And it's because of a number of factors, not just the Ontario Athletic Commission, but it's also just basically because of boxing businesses not investing in their sport, and the general knowledge is not getting out there about boxing, the scoring system, the titles, how that works. So the general knowledge, first of all, is not really out there. So the infrastructure to create great fans that will support the sport as a foundation isn't there. It needs to be developed, and it's being developed slowly, but we have a lot of catching up to do before we get to something of the magnitude of the United States. But the Lennox Lewis effect is basically recognizing where he was at the time, recognizing where the potential was, and going to the potential. If you are getting a roadblock somewhere, doesn't mean you have to quit. It doesn't mean you have to wait. You can go and seek out a path, a different way. There's numerous ways to get to the goal, as long as you know what the goal is, going back to another episode from the DO Boxing Show where I was talking about setting goals. And that's what's so important, because you can keep your eye on the prize, and then you're not stuck when you come up to a roadblock, because you know what the actual bigger goal is, and you can make your way to it. So Lennox Lewis recognized where he was, recognized what the situation was where he was, which is that it was difficult to build his career here in Ontario, specifically Canada. And he signed with, I believe, a British promoter, and built his career in the UK. And to me, that doesn't make him any less Canadian. It just makes him a smart individual that went to where he would be able to pursue his career. And the other thing was he stayed active. And he was pretty active as far as a heavyweight fighter goes. So as an amateur, Lennox registered, I believe, about 82 amateur fights. And as a professional, he retired with a record of 41-2-1, and he avenged his 2 losses. But my point is he was active when he was fighting, and he fought everybody in his era, which makes him arguably one of the best heavyweights ever. And when you stay active, your skills stay sharp. He showed his real championship heart in his 2 losses to come back immediately and avenge them. You know, people will always criticize you, and he endured a lot of criticism during his career, a lot of criticism. But part of the Lennox Lewis effect, or the way that he did things, which was such an intelligent way, is he had a good team around him, much like Floyd Mayweather. A lot of similar guys you've seen around him from the beginning, like Egerton Marcus, and that he kept around him throughout his career. And you know, he kept active, and he went to where the opportunity was. So I think that that's what you have to do. You have to look at what's successful. What's successful? What are successful people doing? And, you know, try and pattern after that. So he was successful in all avenues, not just fighting, but also the business of boxing, which makes him a great person to look at and study. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the D.O. Boxing Show. Remember, if you want to get in depth about any topic or ask any questions about anything new, then hit us up on Twitter at DOKPOSIO, at Okposio, or through email at okposio@hotmail.com. Sorry, that's just my phone buzzing. That's OKPOSIO at hotmail.com. Thanks for tuning in into another episode, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, or you can check us out on the Below the Belt Boxing Facebook page.